What's going on, everybody? This is Marcus. Before I get started, I want to thank you guys so much for your support. It really means a lot to me, and I love you guys so much. For those who are new to my channel, or for those who are seeing it for the first time, make sure you like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel, and make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications whenever I drop a video, and we're gonna keep this thing rolling like always. So, as promised, let's talk about Kenobi Episode 6 of the Star Wars franchise, and like I said, by far one of my favorite episodes. As a lifelong Star Wars fan, there was at least a couple of Easter eggs that I actually saw. So there was definitely references of certain foods that I actually saw from the previous episodes. And then also when Anakin battled Obi-Wan on the Barren Moon, and before they actually got started battling, Obi-Wan actually said that he was going to do what he must. So that was actually a call back to when they first fought on Mustafar on the Revenge of the Sith. So it was definitely a great job that they actually brought those Easter eggs back like they usually do. So, but other than that, definitely a great series. So we got Erik Voss next to me, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Welcome back to the Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of Obi-Wan Kenobi Episode 6, the finale, which reveals that second set of footprints in the sand really belonged to your old teacher who saw everything you've been doing alone in your cave.
Oh my gosh, Qui-Gon Jinn.
And details you missed. Quick announcement, you can see New Rockstars live in Austin, Texas on Saturday, July 2nd as part of RTX, Rooster Teeth's podcast.
Definitely going to collab with Erik and the crew down the road.
Rockstars, all one word. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I hope to see you there. We've been on Tatooine, passing some locals, including some Jawas, guy carrying a sack of what looks like thin melon fruits.
Yeah, thin melon fruits, like I said.
And then a line for water at a portable evaporator card.
That's a clean droid, though.
Water is a price-inflated commodity on this planet, and the vendor of it would, of course, know Owen Lars as a moisture farmer. Owen would be his supplier. But the guy who cuts in line is Groff Ditcher, the foreman from Obi-Wan's meat slicing gig in Episode 1.
Yep, from the first episode.
To swat the cup out of his hand, spilling water, a shocking, wasteful display, but also...
Yeah, what's the deal with water, though? It's good for you. I mean, totally, like, look.
Before Reva and the other Inquisitors announced their presence here, Reva is hooded, a bandage wrapped around her wounded midsection, and with her hair fluttering in her eyes, she's looking rough. Roken sprayed her to some zigzag maneuvering.
Yeah, Reva's looking pretty rough.
The Devastator, the imagery here paralleling the opening chase of the Tantive 4 in A New Hope.
New Hope reference, yo.
Named the Tantive 4 in the 1977 film, was later named that. You can follow Pablo Daga's amazing Twitter where he goes to
Pablo Daga, yeah. I'll talk about that after the Easter egg breakdown.
Slicing up through the screen until our perspective glides through the overhanging bridge tower, just dizzying us with the sense of scale of this floating fortress, pursuing this bipartisan, tiny fugitive ship. Roken reassures the refugees,
we'll head for Tessin. Get you out from there.
Yeah, Tessin is not an established planet in Star Wars. One of the few times ever they mention a planet and it's not already in lore. Underscoring this is even more of a false promise from Roken. Like Obi-Wan's face reads like, yeah, there's no Tessin in Star Wars.
That's kind of interesting because I can't recall if Tessin actually exists in the Star Wars lore. So that's pretty interesting that O'Shea's character actually mentioned that. And of course, O'Shea is the son of Ice Cube, the rapper from NWA. But other than that, I mean, that's kind of interesting to say the least. But look at Kenobi's face, it kind of says it all. Like, wait a second, does Tessin actually exist?
Why are you lying? Leia uses Lola to comfort Corran and his mother. Remember Corran possibly being a nod to Corran Horn, Legends character and son to Jedi Valen Halcyon, whose name appeared on the
Corran and Valen.
and Makuzo. Luke and Owen Peru's parts shop, where Owen is warned by his water vendor. They head home, and Beru reveals herself to be more of a survivalist than we ever imagined.
Beru's pretty cool. It's no wonder Owen married her.
She'll come when the suns go down. Best we got position now.
So, in the years since Anakin's visit and Attack of the Clones and Obi-Wan returning without Benny in Revenge of the Sith, Beru thought, yeah, shotgun behind a flower pot. That sounds good. You don't need to tell Owen about this. I bet she also hides thermal detonators in the blue milk.
Oh, no.
Obi-Wan gives Leia Talon's blaster holster with the notches for every Jedi she
Yeah,
saved.
because
Leia
Anakin
writes
met
over these, the
Owen
last of which
in Attack of the Clones too, of course.
For Leia. Obi-Wan inspects his lightsaber and says this little prayer.
I have to face him, Master. Whether he dies or I do, this ends today.
Yes, no response for Qui-Gon, but we learned at the end of the episode Qui-Gon was there. Obi-Wan cannot yet sense him because he still needs some closure with Anakin. Obi-Wan tells Roken,
There are not many leaders left. People follow you. Don't stop.
Just get started.
Go Roken.
It sounds like to help future other Jedi runaways in a possible second season, or maybe on shows like Andor or Ahsoka, because Ahsoka looks like
That'd be
it's
cool.
gonna flashback to the Rebels era.
Andor and Ahsoka.
The freighter in its dropship.
Looking forward to seeing those.
My lord, we must continue our pursuit of the insurgents. Now is our chance to wipe out this network in its entirety. We cannot prioritize one lone Jedi.
Follow Kenobi.
At once, Lord Vader.
Yes, the Grand Inquisitor bites his tongue.
Yeah, you can tell that he didn't like that.
Context of the rivalry between these two characters, Vader hates the Inquisitors almost as much as he hates the Jedi. Hatred is really the fuel that keeps this whole operation running.
Yeah, like hatred and revenge.
Are on the hunt again. They're raiding farms along the waste.
Oh, come on. Didn't we just learn from Boba Fett that Tuskens are not the barbaric raiders that people think they are? I mean, I'm not surprised at Owen's prejudice. I'm just saying those moisture farmers were on stolen land.
Right.
Lures Vader to this
That's like the
rocky
pot
moon.
calling the kettle black, though.
The description calls it a desolate moon or barren moon. Its terrain does look a bit like the rocky surface of Obadiah, homeworld of the
Obadiah.
Pikes, but this is definitely not Obadiah. Vader himself. Obi-Wan finds Lola in one of his pockets. He joked earlier with Leia that he should borrow the droid to be less afraid, and when Leia hugged him earlier, there was a lump on her back where Lola was probably tucked, and she must have dropped it in his pocket then. Remember, this is the same move that she used on her mother to snatch Lola in episode 1. Vader arrives in his Lambda-class shuttle, and he finds Obi-Wan waiting for him in front of the rocky monoliths. Now, Vader, by comparison, is flanked only by a misty void, and his shuttle wings folded upward to evoke the shape of a pitchfork. So the monoliths behind Obi-Wan provide a nice compositional contrast. Obi-Wan is facing Vader with backup of countless fallen Jedi, standing shoulder to shoulder with him, whereas Vader is facing Obi-Wan alone. In the distant profile shot, Vader approaches him under this crescent, but it's not a crescent moon. We're on a moon right now. That is the planet that this moon orbits. It's now framed above Vader, and based on the shadow of that planet's surface and the lighting of this moon, we must be on the dark side of this moon. All the imagery here
Dark
also
side of the
eclipse that
moon.
suddenly formed on Mustafar over Obi-Wan's head as he and Anakin began.
Yeah, it's like similar to that too.
One shot making Obi-Wan look less alone. Another shot reminding us that we are in the dark side with Vader still. Vader asks,
Have you come to destroy me, Obi-Wan?
I will do what I must.
Call back to Revenge of the Sith.
Die.
yes, paralleling their pre-duel exchange in Revenge of the Sith.
I will do what I must.
You will try.
Then Obi-Wan strikes the same aggressive pose that he did with Grievous Revenge of the Sith.
That's a great pose too. And then of course, it's interesting to note that when Anakin says you will die, it was also like a reverse callback to when he told Obi-Wan on Mustafar, you will try. So it was a good callback, but check out that pose though. That's awesome though.
I love that pose. In
Me
compared
too.
to the last duel, Obi-Wan is far more confident now. At one point, they are back to back, as they were in their sparring session flashback last episode. Meanwhile, at the Lars homestead, Reva ignites her lightsaber as a torch to see her surroundings, which Obi-Wan showed us in episode 3, ultimately just blinds you to the threats lurking in. Obi-Wan and Beru open fire, kicking over those flower pots that we saw lining the homestead in the opening act of A New Hope. You know how much water these plants need? You know how valuable water is? It's just crazy to think that this home was getting wrecked like this. This shootout happening in the same place where Luke was hopping around in the opening act of A New Hope, and no one brought it up. And while I'm editorializing here, a quick reminder that the best way to support your Rockstars is to get our Kenobi-inspired Empire's Most Wanted shirt.
Getting that shirt similar to my Star Wars shirt too, along with my Stark hoodie, Tony Stark, Iron Man. Love Marvel and Star Wars. My two favorite things.
Natural element elements they'll be able to use in this fight, and how those rocks are as much a threat to them as their
Yeah, the
blades are.
lightsaber duel was
Obi-Wan
my
tries to cast
favorite
one of these
though.
pillars on Vader, but Vader casts it aside, and then Vader jabs him in the nose. And our hearts skips
Ooh, right in the nose too.
because, along with the choir voices under this battle, it all evokes Phantom Menace. Remember, this is the move Maul did to Qui-Gon to knock the saber from his hands and then stab him in the chest. Remember the one time in Star Wars someone has actually died from stabbing? Vader then does a Vader quake, crumbling the ground beneath Obi-Wan's feet, submerging him into a sinkhole. Finally, Vader has the high ground now. He tries to bury Obi-Wan alive. Meanwhile, the pole that Owen jabs at Reva is actually the same piece of scrap that Han, Leia, Luke, and Chewie tries to use to brace the walls of the trash compactor in A New Hope. This prop also showed up in Pelimoto's shop in Boba Fett. Owen smartly jabs her wound, remembering that the last time they spoke in episode 1, she did not have this bandage around her midsection, so he knows, she's probably weak there. Reva throws him off the walkway and knows how he hurts his knee. He clutches it from the ground there. He walks with a limp for the rest of this episode, setting up Uncle Owen's tired gait in A New Hope. As Luke
That's where the limp came from too. So
I think it's just one of the moisture
Owen's limp.
behind him, who does have a scary, sinister presence, reflecting Reva's pursuit of him. Meanwhile, beneath the rubble, Obi-Wan holds up the rocks, haunted by voices. Yes, those are the overlapping voices of Anakin and Darth Vader. Anakin from their episode 5 sparring session, Vader from episode 3, Anakin's ranting before their duel in Revenge of the Sith, but Obi-Wan is able to silence these painful voices and replace them with visual flashes of hope. Leia on Jabin, Luke outside his home, Leia on Mapuzo, Leia getting her green cloak on Daiyu, Leia's fall from Daiyu, where Obi-Wan first reconnected with the Force, Luke pretending to be a pilot wearing pod racer goggles, Leia holding his hand as they left Nur. These are representations of the living Force, empowering Obi-Wan to free himself from his grave. And Vader, thinking he's won, suddenly stops, sensing threat behind him. Similar framing as last episode when Reva snuck up behind him, his own mask and helmet blocking out most of the frame. In episode 3, it was Vader who got the drop on Obi-Wan. Now the tables have turned. Obi-Wan
Vader's good with sensing things too.
And then he does that behind the back twirl that Anakin used to love to do. We saw him doing in the sparring flashback last episode, also in the prequels. Obi-Wan is straight up rubbing this in Vader's face now. He's trying to
behind the back too. I love that.
Using elements to crumble the ground beneath Obi-Wan's feet, and downward assault. Obi-Wan raises the rocks to hurl them, an upward assault more befitting of a Jedi who traditionally raise rocks as part of their basic training.
Kenobi's back at full strength too.
Grogu on Corvus, Rey on Crate, even Rogan alluded to floating rocks back in episode 4.
Notice every kid making a rock float from here to course.
Obi-Wan hits Vader in the helmet with an elbow jab. It's always the punches that just take these guys down.
It does.
Staggers Vader enough for Obi-Wan to give him the business, hacking away at his control panel. Yet Vader refuses to yield. Obi-Wan slashes his back and then kicks off from a boulder for a leaping strike like Achilles in Troy, slicing Vader's helmet open and exposing his scarred face. You can even see the scarring at the top of his bald head.
Anakin. Anakin's gone. I'm what remains.
I love it. We hear a mix of Hayden Christensen's voice in a distorted mess.
Yeah, you can actually hear Hayden's voice and James Earl Jones's voice as well. Like both voices are pretty much coming together when the two becomes one. So they did a really great job with that too, because you can pretty much see it's like there's like a duality going on between Vader and Anakin at the same time. So I love that mix.
With the recreated feature version of James Earl Jones' vocal likeness, two identities living in one. This whole moment parallels one of the most heartbreaking reunions in Rebels when Ahsoka faced Anakin in Season 2's Twilight of the Apprentice.
Ahsoka.
Anakin, I won't leave you. Not this time.
Then you will die.
That moment mixed Matt Lanter's voice with James Earl Jones' voice, and of course the other side of Vader's helmet was ripped open. I just love the symbolism of this.
Me
How
too.
It parallels the exposed eye imagery on all the posters. Obi-Wan in one of Vader's eyes, and Ahsoka in the other. The two Jedi his gaze is forever fixed upon. Each of them only half unmasked Vader, and not until Luke will Vader be fully unmasked in Return of the Jedi when he is redeemed. Now, I'm not a skincare aficionado, but I prefer my face to look as young and fresh as it did when I was just a Padawan. I want to miss out on your opportunity to get 70% off on your 30-day trial at geology.com, promo code Rockstars70. Obi-Wan apologizes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Anakin.
And notice the blue
That got me
glow
too.
lights his face here. And for a moment, that same blue
Anakin
lights
apologizing.
Anakin's face
Well,
too.
Obi-Wan apologizing.
Didn't kill Anakin Skywalker.
Anakin's blue.
I did.
That's my favorite shot, though. And sorry, guys, if I'm getting a little emotional, but that scene when Obi-Wan apologized to Anakin, that's definitely one of my favorite scenes because it's kind of like, and I mentioned this in the comment section too with the other channels as well, like Real Rejects and Blind Rave and several other channels, that it's kind of akin to when a parent fails to raise their kid in a sense, that they've been led astray and do like wrong things, and they do the opposite of what the parents teaches them. So it's kind of you can see the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan, that Obi-Wan looked at Anakin as a son and a brother at the same time as well, because he loved him. He even says so himself after when Anakin was torn to pieces, after when Obi-Wan sliced him on Mustafar. So you can practically see the heartbreak in Obi-Wan. He truly did care for Anakin. Despite the Jedi's strict ways, they practically knew what was best for Anakin to not try to understand the dark side in a sense. So, and again, you can practically see that too. And again, I'm just pouring my heart out because I love scenes like this and emotional scenes too, because like I know some people probably didn't like the way how the series actually started, but I did. I thought it was amazing, and I'll talk about this after the end of the Easter egg breakdown. But yeah, that scene got me too, and it actually brought me to tears because like I just love scenes like this, and it just kind of touches the human core at the same time too, because you practically can see the relationship there, and Anakin and Obi-Wan used to be good friends too. So I'm actually really glad that Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen actually brought those emotions on display on the full screen as well. So yeah.
The same way, I will destroy you.
Now, throughout this, it's mostly Hayden's voice, but the Reese feature James Earl Jones' voice does kick in for Obi-Wan. And while it seems like Anakin for a moment is forgiving Obi-Wan as the blue light remains on his face, when Vader reveals it was he who killed Anakin, that blue light fades from Obi-Wan's face and is replaced with the color red. We come back to Vader's face and it is bleeding.
Like I said, like Vader and Anakin, like two different people.
Identities between Anakin and Vader, and this provides Obi-Wan with that certain point of view cover story that he tells Luke in A New Hope.
A young Jedi named Darth Vader was a pupil of mine until he turned to evil. Helped the Empire hunt down and destroy the Jedi Knights. He betrayed and murdered your father.
Yeah, that's not a lie that Obi-Wan invented to spare Luke's feelings. It is really the most emotionally true explanation.
You can actually see that too, which actually makes sense because, like I said, especially in New Hope, when Obi-Wan was telling Luke that basically you can pretty much see it as far as like Anakin and Darth Vader are two different people. I like the way they actually brought that in too. It's kind of like you have dual identities and everything like that. It's kind of like Spider-Man's villain, Martin Lee, who's Mr. Negative. Like Martin Lee was once a good person, but when he was overcoming with emotions, especially with the experiments that he was going through, the negative side of him actually came out. Therefore, his name dubbed Mr. Negative. And so you can pretty much see that too, that Anakin was once a good person until he was corrupted by the negative feelings of the Sith. So that's pretty much a good idea. They actually brought like two different identities of Darth and, well, Vader and Anakin. So
From Vader himself, Obi-Wan says,
And my friend is truly dead. Goodbye. Darth.
yeah, a little syntax echo of Luke in Return of the Jedi.
yep.
Then my father is truly dead.
And finally accepting Vader's new identity, he calls him Darth, setting up their famous exchange on the Death Star.
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
Only a master of evil, Darth.
As Obi-Wan leaves him behind, Vader screams,
Obi-Wan!
And I love how the red glow of a saber really highlights each of the contours of his scars. The reason it glowed red is because he was raising his lightsaber, not to attack, but to use that light to show all of the scarring that Obi-Wan left on his face. The scream here, again, the audio mixing is incredible, including both Hayden screaming,
the audio mix is incredible
James Earl
though.
Jones screaming, and of course reminding us of Sam Witwer's epic scream as Maul in Rebels.
Kenobi!
That actually reminds me, when I hear his voice, it actually reminds me of Scott McNeil's voice. Now, Scott McNeil is also a voice actor as well, and he's done a lot of voice work for various cartoons, characters over the years. Like 20, 30, 40, probably 30 years for sure. But 30 years as a matter of fact. And he's always known for his screaming like, "Wah!" Like, he's definitely known for having like a rock star scream. But Scott McNeil, meeting him in person, looks exactly like a rock star himself though. So, but he's voiced several characters. For example, Jimmy Lee, part of the Lee brothers from Double Dragon. He voiced Ken Masters from the 90s Street Fighter animated series. He also voiced Lord Raptor from Darkstalkers. He also voiced Duo Maxwell and Gundam Wing, Rat Trap from Transformers. He's done like a lot of good stuff. So, and like I said, he's one of my favorite voice actors too. So I definitely like his enthusiasm as well. He actually said in an interview that he wanted to become the Mel Blanc of voice acting, or basically the Mel Blanc in the industry. And of course, we all know Mel Blanc was the voice actor who voiced all of the Looney Tunes characters. For example, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Foghorn Leghorn, your Sandy Sam, Sylvester the Cat, like so many other great characters in Looney Tunes. So Mel Blanc is known for that, for voicing all the characters from Looney Tunes. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because Darth Maul's scream sounds exactly like Scott McNeil's scream. So that's pretty hilarious.
Reva searches for Luke through a canyon.
There's Reva.
This is Beggar's Canyon that has come up a lot. Reva pulls
Yeah,
Luke
Beggar's
off the
Canyon. I
rock
caught that
ledge,
too.
and as she approaches, she instead suddenly sees her own young self lying in that sand, and she flashes among memories to the night of Order 66 and her recent duel with Vader on Mapuzo. We get this quick new close-up of Anakin, a look of pain and uncertainty right before he struck her that night, as if only now Reva is thinking back on that split second of doubt when Anakin could have made a different choice. But then we see Anakin's eyes harden and he shakes the doubt out of his mind, and Reva realizes that she does not have that same evil in her heart that Anakin had in that moment. I honestly think it
Or
was
as they call it, a killer instinct.
physical resemblance to his father, and how Luke represents the goodness that was once in Anakin, and that was what inspired Reva to make a different choice. After returning Luke, she sobs to Obi-Wan.
I failed him.
You haven't failed them by showing mercy. You have given them peace. You have honored them.
This may give us some insight into why Obi-Wan did not finish off Vader before, because by showing mercy, he honors the victims and shows his enemy another path. But, you know, hey, Reva, if you really want to honor your friends who died in Order 66, you can start by getting that one youngling's corpse out of the amber.
Yeah.
Get him an ocean burial on Nur. I mean, it's a start. Reva tosses
Yeah.
her lightsaber in the sand.
I agree.
relinquishing her mission like all the other Jedi who gave up their lightsabers on the path, and replacing the two Jedi blades buried in the sand at the beginning of the season with a double-ended blade back in the sand. On to Mustafar, where an aerial shot shows Vader's two-pronged castle truly does function as a dam for lava rivers. I love the design that Doug Chiang's team put into this in Rogue One. This is a literal dam for lava. Like in our world,
that was seen in Rogue One too.
Hydroelectric stations generating energy. In this
Yeah,
case, it's
damn
a dam
electric
of the
stations
lava
and works in the
with a
real world
two-port
too.
design, harnessing and channeling dark side energy, fueling Vader's rage the longer he sits there. Vader communes with the Emperor. Ian McDiarmid making a cameo.
Ian McDiarmid.
If your thoughts are clear,
That's what I said when I saw it. I was like, yup.
perhaps
Darth
your
Sidious.
feelings for your old master have left you weakened. If your past cannot be overcome,
Yeah, I like how Ian McDiarmid's eyes go from a judging squint to a more threatening glare. And he leaves that sentence unfinished, letting Vader fill in the
Ian
blank.
McDiarmid's
The
awesome.
subtext, of course, is, according to the Sith rule of two, all of the dark side apprentices' feelings, hatred included, must be focused on their master. Palpatine is implying that even Vader hating Obi-Wan amounts to an emotional betrayal. And Vader, knowing that the Grand Inquisitor is waiting in the wings, does not want to be replaced. Our final shot of Vader brings back John Williams' amazing Imperial March.
Imperial
And
March,
pulls back
yep.
from him on his throne room with the red windows and the steps evoking the appearance of Vader's mask, footsteps being his breathing grill, the windows his eyes, now angled downward, making him look angrier than ever. On Alderaan, Leia
That's
now
cool.
dresses herself, a contrast to the Episode 1 images of handmaidens dressing the girl we thought was Leia. She has an intricate braid, a precursor to the one she has in A New Hope.
Yeah,
She wears
Leia's
top,
embracing her role
holster,
now.
Rhea approves. Leia's look here with the boots reflects her action fit that we saw in the Age of Rebellion comics.
Nice.
Obi-Wan returns with Lola, and Bail Organa says,
I fear for our future. The Empire grows stronger and bolder my help again, you know where to find me.
Yeah, we feel echoes of the doomed fates of Alderaan and Bail Organa in A New Hope, but until then, we will have Andor, where Bail may make an appearance alongside Senator Mon Mothma as they both work to covertly subvert.
Yeah, Alderaan actually exploded, so yep. In A New Hope.
Wise, discerning, kind-hearted. These are qualities that came from your mother. You're also passionate and fearless, forthright. And these are gifts from your father. Both were exceptional people who bore an exceptional daughter.
I'm not crying.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, that is John Williams' Leia.
Oh, that got me
and
too.
It's beautiful. Obi-Wan, of course, paid tribute to Padme and Anakin, and how their best qualities
Man, this series is so
their
great.
children. Back on Mapuzo, Obi-Wan said that he wished he could have been Leia's dad, and now with these
Aw.
words, he's realizing he doesn't need to be, because he continues to say,
I wish I could tell you.
It's okay. You don't have to.
yeah, just her look at Bail and Rhea already moving on. Leia signals that these two are the only parents she needs. She asks,
Will I ever see you again?
reminding us of Anakin with Shmi in Phantom Menace.
Will I ever see you again?
And with Anakin and Shmi, the next time he did see her, she was dying. As the next time Leia will see Obi-Wan, unless Lucasfilm decides to sandwich even more lore in here, we'll see Leia's eyeline connecting with Obi-Wan briefly on the Death Star, the moment of his death in A New Hope. Obi-Wan says,
Goodbye, princess. May the force be with you.
and of course John Williams' Force theme returns there. Back on
Yeah.
Tatooine, Obi-Wan packs up his stuff in his saddlebags and a crate. Remember, Anakin's lightsaber is stored among his stuff, waiting to be handed off to Luke years from now. Compared to his wardrobe in Episode 1, Obi-Wan now wears brighter robes. And with those goggles, his look is now straight out of the 2015 Jason Aaron Mike Mayhew Star Wars number 15. with
That's a good
Obi-Wan
issue.
on the cover, which is set in the years after this. Obi-Wan finds that old T-16 Skyhopper toy that he tried to get to Luke before Owen threw back at him. So he rides his Eobi back to the homestead and tells Owen that
Eobi.
it's okay for Luke to stay a kid. You don't need to train a kid to be a Jedi. It only
Right.
leads to bad things. Obi-Wan says.
Yeah.
The future will take care of itself.
And Owen lets Obi-Wan finally meet Luke face to face. He gives him the T-16 that Luke will play with in A New Hope, and he says the line.
Hello there.
Oh my gosh.
And Luke, how do we respond?
Hello there.
And in the final scene, Obi-Wan rides
Hello there.
on a mirage
That fake crowd reaction.
Of Qui-Gon Jinn, Liam Neeson returning to cameo.
Liam Neeson,
Like
yes.
spotting Luke and Leia's Force Ghosts in The Rise of Skywalker in these same desert winds, it is implied to be a mirage in the mind of the perceiver. But does that make that any less real, ultimately? I just
True.
love that anytime the Tatooine local saw crazy old Ben Kenobi talking to himself, he was probably just talking to Qui-Gon's ghost. He says,
Well, it took you long enough. Beginning to think you'd never come. It was always here, Obi-Wan. We just were not ready to see. Come on. Got a ways to go.
yeah, Obi-Wan taunts his master the same way Anakin taunted him in their memory.
I was beginning to think you weren't coming.
Now notice that Qui-Gon's lightsaber is not visible under his robes. Our man always kept it tucked away under the robes, and Anakin, really only from its low vantage point, was able to see it briefly in Phantom Menace. And even after that, Qui-Gon played coy about even having a lightsaber. Throughout these 6 episodes, Obi-Wan has always been praying to Qui-Gon's ghost in hopes of communing with him, as Yoda promised they would at the end of Revenge of the Sith. But Obi-Wan has only been met with silence. But that silence was actually just deafness and blindness to what was always there. As Quinlan Voss's quote read, "Only when the eyes are closed can you truly see the way." Obi-Wan needed to close his eyes to his haunting past, let the past die, kill it if you have to, including all of his memories with Anakin, and instead focus on the living Force, as Qui-Gon counseled him in the opening exchange of Phantom Menace.
Don't center on your anxieties, Obi-Wan. Keep your concentration here and now where it belongs.
But Master Yoda said I should be mindful of the future.
But not at the expense of the moment. Be mindful of the living force, young Padawan.
Right.
Probably notice that the imagery here focuses on footprints in the sand, evoking
Basic-
the classic Christian footprints in the sand
Well,
metaphor.
say it in a second.
Footprints because it was in those times I was carrying you. Obi-Wan began this series divorced from the Force. Every time his thoughts brought him back in sync with Vader, their shared memory last episode, that, I believe, was truly Qui-Gon Jinn playing Force matchmaker to reacquaint Obi-Wan with the living Force. Thank you so much for joining me on all these breakdowns of Obi-Wan.
And that makes sense too, because if you think about it like this, especially what Obi-Wan told, or what Qui-Gon Jinn told Obi-Wan, was that focus on the future, focus on the present, here and now, which is so true in real life too. Like, people sometimes get caught up in the future, but you gotta enjoy the present and know that you're living in the moment right now and what to expect. So, because the future will take care of itself. So, but yeah, other than that, I definitely enjoyed this series. One thing that I definitely wanted to point out, especially going back to the tweet that was actually mentioned, if I could go back to that mark real quick, it was definitely about the New Hope too. So let's see if I can go back to that real quickly. Let's see if I can go back to that real quick. But yeah, so many emotional scenes too, you guys. So it's definitely pretty interesting too. So yeah, so basically with that shot from A New Hope, especially with that tweet, that's pretty much yeah, from Pablo Hidalgo. Here we go. Yeah, from Pablo Hidalgo, he was talking about how there's a whole chain of events that led this ship from being just Alderaan cruiser, which is greater than Tantive of 4, Sundered Heart, Tantive of 3, that could really be its own thread. This ship is a bundle of retcons that didn't get settled until the Clone Wars Season 3. And so, of course, that was pretty much just what he talked about as well. And of course, the New Hope movie that's practically been out for over the past almost 50 years for sure, since the movie first came out. It wasn't going to be called that initially. So that was good that Pablo actually brought that up, because yeah, there's been a lot of retcons for sure. So especially in the Star Wars lore as well. So, but other than that, I've enjoyed Kenobi. I'm definitely going to go back and watch all the episodes again. But just seeing that final episode was just really good, and I enjoyed it. As a hardcore Star Wars fan, it's definitely the best. So I believe we'll get a season 2, and with the other Star Wars that's coming out too, like Andor and Ahsoka, I think they will definitely get a season 2 of Kenobi as well. They can pretty much continue the story from there, in which case we know that all these lores are pretty much leading up towards what actually took place in the original trilogy as well. So of course we already understand pretty much, like, you know, Leia will grow up and Luke will grow up to fulfill their destinies and everything. So, but yeah, other than that, I mean, I definitely enjoyed this series because the main focus was just the reuniting of Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is what the focus was definitely upon. And so again, I think if they actually want to do this, I mean, again, I know it's a bit of a stretch, but I think seeing Darth Maul return will be pretty awesome too. But I think it'll happen eventually, because he's alive in the comics and in the Clone Wars saga in the cartoon as well. So we'll see. But other than that, guys, I've enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to go back and watch all the episodes from Kenobi again. What do you guys think? Did you guys enjoy it too? Let me go in the comments down below what you guys think. But I love you guys so much. Y'all know what to do. Share this video. Subscribe to my channel. May the Force be with you guys. I'll see y'all on the next one.